Hi, I'm Gayla Scrivener, ex-corporate girl and now work-from-anywhere adventure seeker. Creating a work-from-anywhere lifestyle isn't without its challenges, but those challenges certainly don't overshadow all the many benefits. What breaks my heart is seeing folks stuck and unhappy in a career and lifestyle when they want more out of life. I believe that we all have the opportunity to create the life of our dreams and earn a living in fun and creative ways to make our dream lifestyle a reality. You too can experience wonderful adventure and freedom as you live life on your own terms. In this weekly podcast, I share experiences when it comes to growing a lifestyle business through guest interviews, content marketing experience and perspectives, virtual leadership lessons, and I'll even throw in some travel adventures. My hope is through all the interviews, the tips, advice, and personal experience, you'll be inspired and motivated to keep going and creating your dream lifestyle. Life's an adventure. There's no time but the present to live life to the fullest. Hi there, and welcome to the show. Thanks for joining me today. I'm always honored and humbled to know that you're here and listening, and I do hope that any tidbits of my perspective are helpful in building your lifestyle of freedom. I'm sitting here in my RV in Southwest Missouri on family property, enjoying the woods and the farm, and I sit here and I think, wow, my life is so much different than it was just about 10 years ago. So much different. And I appreciate the freedom that I have grown for myself. Honestly, creating a business that revolves around a freedom lifestyle or a lifestyle of freedom, it's hard work, but it is so worth it because each and every day I can see even more freedom built, and I'm loving it. 10 years ago, well, actually, I think it was a bit more than that now. But back then, when I was visualizing how I wanted my life to be different, my idea of a lifestyle of freedom involved travel. That's what it evolved around. I didn't want to wait until I retired to be able to travel. So many people do, and I didn't want that. I saw myself free of a regular house and traveling all around the country in something much, much smaller. I wanted to see different landscapes. I wanted to visit small towns across the country. I wanted to meet new people and learn about them and their lifestyles. It's quite cool, actually, that I'm doing that right now. But in order to accomplish the travel that I visualized, I needed to downsize. I could not take everything with me. I could not do everything that I was doing like I was doing, 10 years ago, 11 years ago. I had to make changes and I had to downsize. And I had come across some pictures of Robert and me starting out in our new lifestyle. And those photos and me sitting here in the RV, just kind of soaking up the lifestyle, that each time I grew my entrepreneurial experience, there was some downsizing involved. Not necessarily physically and spatially downsizing stuff, but definitely digitally and a shift in mindset. Today, I thought I'd share a few examples of how I downsized at different stages in my journey so far. And my hope is that my experiences, that they'll give you ideas of what you may need to downsize in order to make space to grow your business and achieve your lifestyle of freedom. Now, as I've already alluded to, the very, very first downsizing that we had to do to start our work from anywhere journey was to actually sell stuff. Yeah, we needed to be able to learn to live in a much, much smaller living space. At the time, Robert and I were living in Florida and renting a 2-bedroom, 2-car garage with a shed. It was a ranch-style house, and it wasn't extravagant by any means. And I'm sure that it was, I'm thinking it was a bit less than 1,500 square feet, but I'm spatially challenged, so forgive me. It's approximately the size of home that I have lived in for practically all my adult life. And we had stuff to fill pretty much every nook and cranny. Now, it was organized stuff, but stuff nonetheless. Now, Robert and I purchased our house on wheels. That is our 38-foot Alpha Sia motorhome. That is, I want to say it's 386 square feet. So our living space was going to be reduced down by over 1,100 square feet. We had a massive garage sale. Let me tell you, we realized how much stuff we actually had when we pulled everything out and into the yard of that Florida rental house, and it was all up for sale. We had duplicates of things, and we had things that we hadn't touched in years, and so many clothes. It's beyond me. Why do we have so many clothes? We don't need so many clothes. And I have to say, moving into the 386 square foot space of the RV and making decisions to get rid of so many things that we truly didn't need or want anymore, it was a liberating experience. Didn't realize how much stuff just weighed you down. That sale was a heck of a lot of work. I know that it's certainly easier to tuck things away into Rubbermaid boxes and finding a place to store them in the garage or the attic, or actually it's even easier to move all the stuff to some big storage building and pay to not deal with decision fatigue that one gets when sorting out all that stuff. I mean, you have to make decisions on everything. But Robert and I had sucked it up and got rid of practically everything we could part with, which was a heck of a lot. The family heirlooms and very special and practical things that we couldn't part with, that was the only thing left. And I was amazed at how much freer I felt to get rid of so much stuff. Letting go of all that stuff, that made room, and that got us one step closer to have our lifestyle, our work from anywhere lifestyle. We were ready for our house on wheels. We were ready to start our mobile lifestyle and travel. We had to let go of something. We had to downsize first before going to our next step. And that was our very first major downsizing that involved just plain stuff. Then, as I started figuring out what it meant and what to do to own a digital and nomadic business, I would take on many different clients and different types of jobs. I was in the experimental phase of my business. I was freelancing. It was very much an exploratory period. I knew I could use my experience to help small business owners, but I had no idea in what capacity, and I lacked the confidence to really know that at the time. I really didn't know what I would like the most, and I was just hustling to get any freelance job I could. And what that meant in that hustle is, for me, I networked and I met new people. And I started meeting small business owners and became involved in different networking groups so that I could be surrounded by potential clients. I did a lot of volunteer work for these networking groups. And being involved with them was a fantastic opportunity for sure to start my business. It was perfect in the exploratory period of my life. Over time, my calendar became filled with meeting after meeting after meeting. So many one-on-one networking meetings. Well, you have the regular networking meeting, and then you book a one-on-one so that you can get to know that individual a little better. There's nothing wrong with that, but that cut into my client work during the day, making me work on client stuff at odd hours. And then I had no room in my schedule for my personal stuff, my personal time. And of course, at first, I had more time than clients, and I was working hard to make those connections to get more clients. It was worth it. I don't look back on that with regret or remorse. But I soon realized that these stacked up meetings that filled my days and weeks were really wearing on me. They're wearing me thin. and something had to give. I couldn't take on additional workload, which I needed. I needed additional income, and still go to every single meeting I was invited to. I had to downsize my participation in those networking groups. I made it a point to downsize the days that I would meet with people. For example, at first, I would meet any day of the week the other person suggested. If they needed to meet with me on a Wednesday because that fit with their schedule, I always said yes. If they needed to meet with me on a Friday, I'd interrupt my schedule. Well, then I began to block one day a week just for meetings, just for one-on-one meetings. And very rarely would I deviate from that. Those meetings were stacked one right after the other on that particular day, and I was exhausted by the end of a packed meeting schedule. That was for sure. But all the time I had the remainder of the week to focus on other things, well, by golly, that was fantastic. I had to downsize the number of meetings and the number of days I would meet. Of course, there were some individuals in the networking group who kept telling me that if I reduced my involvement in my one-on-one meetings, that I was missing out on opportunities. I was missing out. Indeed, there were meetings that did not work out, and some folks couldn't meet during the schedule I offered, and I had to say no. And a wonderful thing happened. When I downsized the number of days for meetings, my productivity and focus skyrocketed, and I increased my client load. So, by not listening to the others in the networking group saying that, hey, you better be going to all these meetings and going to these one-on-ones, that you're going to be missing out on opportunities. I actually grew by downsizing. I actually grew my business by downsizing because I made room on my schedule for other things, the things that would get me closer to my goals. What worked at first was great, but then I needed to downsize to be able to say yes to other things. A third area, I downsized clients. Now, at first, when I was hustling, trying to find any freelance gig I could get and I had experience in, I acquired a wide variety of clients doing a wide variety of tasks. I soon figured out that the things that I really liked, the things that I could really do well in, the things that I could create systems for, all the tasks and jobs that I took on for newly acquired clients, I could do. I figured out what I really didn't like doing as well. As I figured all these things out in what I call my self-discovery phase, I figured out the types of industries and the tasks that I really wanted to do and really did not want to do. I soon started to only accepting new jobs that fit more into my ideal clientele and align with the direction I wanted to go for my business. But I still had my original clients on either an ongoing or as needed basis that ended up being, this may sound bad, but it ended up being a time suck and didn't fit into my core business as to what it was all about or what it was evolving into. And some clients were difficult and just took a lot of time. And some I would chase down for payment. And honestly, some of the experience of those few clients that didn't fit really sucked the fun right out of owning my own business. And the work involved with these few clients didn't fit in with my nomadic lifestyle that I was seeking. And I'm a people pleaser. That's just who I am. I'm a people pleaser. And it's hard for me to say no. And it's hard for me not to want to help someone. When I identify some area that I think, oh yeah, I can help, it's hard for me to say no to that. But it's a tough decision. But I put on my big girl pants and decided that I needed to downsize my client load, that I need to downsize what I actually do for people to help them. The first time that I did, I was so scared because finances were tight still. I thought that I had to keep every single client who were, quite honestly, they were low payers and high maintenance. but I thought I had to keep every single one of them because I needed every single penny that I could scrape together to pay the bills. And it freaked me out to no end to say no to income. Even though I felt like this hamster in this wheel and just going round and round, and I felt like I was going nowhere and just running myself to death. And so I did it. I downsized my first client load. And what happened? I was able to concentrate more on the larger clients, which made up for the so-called lost revenue. I found work fun again, and I even got better referrals for work with new clients who fit my ideal avatar. It was awesome. Downsizing client load helps you grow. It just does. You're able to systemize better and take on clients that fall within what systems you're creating. You don't have to be all things to all people. And I have to remind myself of that all the time. Because if you're like me and a people pleaser, you tend to that way. You want to be all things to all people. But we can't. Trying to be all things to all people, and it takes the fun out of everything. So I know it's hard to downsize. I do that, and I know that, oh man, I just don't want to disappoint someone. But once you downsize, it is a big weight lifted. You can be free to invest time and energy into the work that you love and focus on the things that matter to you most. When I first downsized by selling practically everything I owned to move into a small space, that was like a weight lifted. And then downsizing how many clients or the different kinds of work that I was doing and putting more focus in my business efforts, that was like a big weight lifted. Realizing as a people pleaser that we do not have to be all things to all people. And therefore, when we focus and downsize the different kinds of things, and we downsize the things that are weighing us down, then we make room to where we can grow so much better. And we can thrive. And another area where you can downsize periodically is your email list. That's a digital form of downsizing, but yeah, I know you work very hard to gather new emails, and those names may be on your list for years, but there comes a time where you should downsize your list in order to grow. Now, I'm not saying to delete everything, just those who never open, who have never opened. A smaller list that is more engaged is better than a huge list of folks who never, ever, ever, ever opens or responds to your emails. Now, I've recently done that very thing to my list, and I evaluated my list and discovered about a quarter of the list hasn't opened an email forever. Who knows? Maybe my stuff is going into their spam. Oh, well. At any rate, I went ahead and deleted them from my MailChimp account. This way, I'm left with those who do open and engage with my emails, and I'm concentrating on growing my list. I know it's hard when you're trying to grow your list to reduce it by a percentage because it's like, oh, my goals are to have so many on my list. But really, you will do better if you kind of take off I don't want to say the dead weight. I just want to say, just take off what's weighing you down. There are other digital areas that I've downsized so that I could grow. I've downsized the number of software accounts that I use and pay for. There have been some that do the same exact capabilities, and there was no need to use a little bit of one and a little bit of the other when the whole, just learning one system that did that thing was so much better. And here's an idea. There's an opportunity to downsize the involvement in social accounts and the number of posts published on a daily or weekly basis. Now, I'm currently evaluating what I want to downsize in the way of social media and how it affects our content marketing plan. As you see, there are many ways to downsize in your life to make room to grow. Downsizing makes room for better things. Downsizing is a freeing experience. Now, living in our 389 square foot space for any given period of time, there is a tendency to acquire more stuff. Periodic downsizing has to be done because otherwise there wouldn't be any room left in this little RV to live in and to work in. Periodic downsizing of clients, of emails, and software, whatever it may be, periodic downsizing is necessary as your business evolves. It's not a bad thing to downsize. In fact, I believe it's a fantastic way to be free to fill your life with the things that matter most to your personal and professional growth. Now, are you feeling stuck or weighed down right now? Worn out? Well, consider downsizing something in your life that's weighing you down. What would that be? Would it be something spatially, physically, having just not so much stuff? Is it something digitally? Is it that there's some clients that you have that you know that you need to let go? Well, I do hope that sharing my downsizing experience has inspired you to think of areas where you can let go in order to make room for growth, in order to make room for the lifestyle that doesn't have to be a dream. It can be a reality. Every day you can make a step to be closer to making your dreams come true. I believe that. Now be sure to subscribe to the show if you haven't done so already. And if you feel extra generous, leaving a review would be super helpful. Either way, I thank you for listening, and until next time, have a fantastic week.